face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and welcome. I'm Gamachi Samandira and this is Pulse of Africa News coming to you live from Addis Ababa, the political heart of Africa. Let's start with Ethiopia's cluster farming. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, during a visit to Hawa Galan Warada in Galam Warada zone today, highlighted the success of a banana cluster farm developed under the Bounty of the Basket, the Namat Tufat initiative, demonstrating the impact of community-driven agriculture. Officials observed farmers working collaboratively to turn local land and water resources into a highly productive farm. The project combines traditional irrigation methods with careful resource management to promote sustainability and optimize yields. By applying traditional irrigation methods and making effective use of available resources, the community has built a productive and promising agricultural site. Premier Abiy stated and lauded it was especially inspiring to witness how improved road infrastructure is supporting farmers in bringing their produce to market with greater ease. This progress reflects what can be achieved when development efforts are closely aligned with the needs and potential of the local community. The banana cluster exemplifies Ethiopia's approach to integrating community empowerment, infrastructure development, and agricultural innovation, delivering measurable economic benefits and improved livelihoods. The initiative underscores the country's commitment to inclusive growth and locally tailored development programs that can harness regional potential. The critical role of the African Union AU in promoting peace, security and economic development across the continent, Marie-Cruz Evuna Ndeme, Secretary of State for International Organizations at Equatorial Guinea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, told the Pulse of Africa. Speaking on the challenges facing African nations, Evuna Ndeme highlighted the link between development and stability. Conflict often arises when there is a lack of development, she said. We must ensure that our communities are prosperous to prevent unrest and foster sustainable peace. The Secretary of State also underscored the AU's efforts to amplify Africa's collective voice on the global stage. The African Union is doing better every year, she noted, citing the AU's recent recognition as a member of the G20, a move that elevates the representation of all African nations in international decision-making.
Well, the African Union has been working very hard for many decades now to prevent and to mitigate conflict in the whole region, African region. I think there's much more that we can continue to do to support these countries, support these populations, these communities, to make sure that war is not brought about. You know, there are many policies that we're trying to integrate in our development agendas, which will give a better life for every community. You know that conflict comes when there's a lack of development, just to say in a very generic way. When there's lack of development, we'll probably have conflict. So we have to make sure that we could avoid having lack of development so that populations may feel that they are really prosperous.
Evuna Ndeme called for political courage and practical action in implementing the African Continental Free Trade Area. All our countries have ratified the treaty. Now we must take advantage of it, she said. We need to negotiate trade, goods and services and ensure our populations benefit equally. The tools are in place. We just need the will to use them. On the topic of regional integration, she praised Ethiopia's role in supporting the continent during the COVID-19 pandemic.
The national airline of Ethiopia, Ethiopian Airlines. So as you can see, it's a major player for regional integration. Countries that are small would have no way to get those packages from China the word for Ethiopia. So that shows not only South-South cooperation, but it also shows how Ethiopia can play a major role in regional integration. So that's just a small example to let you know what I think about this whole about your question. And hosting here the African Union and all of the meetings that we come to attend here, it shows that it's a big powerhouse.
Ethiopia distributed Chinese medical equipment and supplies to African nations for free, demonstrating its leadership in South-South cooperation and regional integration, she said. She expressed hope that African leaders would embrace the changing geopolitical landscape and take decisive steps for the continent's prosperity. Africa needs to take a stand and commit to doing better for its people. We must move forward and seize this new environment to push us further, she urged.
If you don't tell your story, it will be told by others. They'll talk of hunger, they'll talk of war, they'll talk of conflict, but they'll not say the things that are happening in Africa that are positive.
This is POA, a very new media organization in Ethiopia.
We have to be voice for ourselves. There is no one else that can tell our story better than us.
If it's defending African matters, then go for it. Go for Pulse Media.
This is the Pulse of Africa. Tune in, follow the journey, and learn about the news and what's shaping our African continent.
I am really impressed by the work that they're doing by telling the African story from Africa for Africans. I think it's definitely needed.
Please subscribe to the Pulse of Africa on all platforms.
The national government and Nairobi City County have signed 80 billion Kenyan shilling agreement to transform Nairobi into a more livable, secure and efficient city for its 4.4 million residents. The plan covers a broad range of infrastructure upgrades, including street lighting, electricity access, water supply, sanitation, roads, drainage, and solid waste management. Investments include 3.7 billion Kenyan shilling to complete and expand street lighting, 1.5 billion Kenyan shilling to improve electricity access, informal settlements, and 5.1 billion Kenyan shilling toward water infrastructure, including the Negithu treatment plant and the Gigiri-Sheru-Moyo corridor. Sanitation improvements are being prioritized with 9 billion Kenyan shilling allocated for 227-kilometer trunk swing sewer networks along the Nairobi River, 6 billion Kenyan shilling for a new 60 million litre per day treatment plant, 3 billion Kenyan shilling for last mile connections, and 15 billion Kenyan shilling for long-term expansion.
Since the enactment of the Urban Areas and Cities Act in 2012, this cooperation agreement is 14 years late. It should have been in place with the advent of devolution. What we are augmenting today is not a transfer of functions. Let me repeat. There is no transfer of functions happening. For the avoidance of doubt, I have no interest in running the city of Nairobi. My hands are full. The governor and his team must run the city of Nairobi. But I have an obligation as the President of Kenya to assist the city of Nairobi for all the reasons that I have stated.
Road and drainage upgrades are supported with 10.4 billion Kenyan shilling for existing and phase 2 projects, while each ward will receive targeted improvements. Solid waste management is being strengthened through a 6 billion Kenyan shilling investment in material recovery facilities and related infrastructures. Officials emphasize that the initiative aims to position Nairobi as a modern, globally respected African city, improving residents' quality of life while enhancing the city's economic and strategic significance on the continent. Moving on to SADC, the Southern African Development Community SADC has deployed its emergency response team to Madagascar following widespread devastation caused by 2 tropical cyclones within 3 weeks. The mission aims to support national relief efforts after cyclones Gazani and EYFTIA triggered loss of life, displacement and major damage to infrastructure and essential services across several regions. According to SADC, more than 270,000 people across 18 districts have been affected, highlighting the scale of the humanitarian crisis facing the island nation. The response team, working alongside partners including the World Food Programme, will provide technical support in emergency coordination, search and rescue, and situation monitoring between mid and late February. Regional officials say the deployment is part of SADC's disaster response framework activated when national capacity is overwhelmed and is focused on improving coordination and ensuring timely delivery of humanitarian assistance. The back-to-back cyclones have once again exposed Madagascar's vulnerability to extreme weather as regional actors step up efforts to strengthen resilience and crisis response mechanisms. Moving on to our business headlines, IHS Africa Data Centers has signed a memorandum of understanding with Zenlayer to strengthen digital infrastructure across East Africa, targeting growing demand for high-performance connectivity. The agreement, signed during Capacity Middle East in Dubai, comes as businesses across the region accelerate adoption of cloud computing, of artificial intelligence and latency-sensitive services. Under the partnership, both companies will collaborate to enhance connectivity and interconnection solutions, combining IHS Africa's data centers capabilities in Nairobi with Zenlayer's global edge, cloud and network platform. The initiative aims to support enterprises entering or expanding in East Africa, enabling scalable deployment options, improving cloud connectivity and more efficient handling of performance-driven workloads. Officials say the collaboration reflects a broader shift in Africa's digital landscape, where companies are moving toward advanced data-driven operations supported by resilient and locally anchored infrastructure. MTN Group has entered into a merger agreement to acquire 100% of IHS Towers in an all-cash transaction valued at $8.50 per ordinary share, giving IHS Towers an enterprise value of approximately $6.2 billion. The deal is subject to shareholder and regulatory approvals, as well as the delisting of IHS Towers from the New York Stock Exchange. Currently holding about 24.7% of IHS, MTN intends to take the company private by acquiring all outstanding shares it does not already own. The acquisition will allow MTN to internalize margins previously paid to IHS, benefit from incremental third-party revenues, improve cost predictability, and unlock long-term value from its existing investment in digital infrastructure. Ralph Mupita described the transaction as a pivotal step to strengthen MTN's strategic and financial position, noting that digital infrastructure is critical for Africa's growth and development. He emphasized that reintegrating the towers enhances MTN's capacity to partner with governments and support national digital expansion. Sam Darwish highlighted that the deal provides certainty and immediate returns for IHS shareholders while deepening the partnership between Africa's largest mobile operator and one of its largest digital infrastructure platforms. The funding for the remaining shares will come from IHS's existing cash of approximately $1.1 billion, along with MTN's available liquidity and debt. IHS shareholders will receive $8.50 per share, reflecting a 9.7% premium over the 30-day volume-weighted average price prior to MTN's announcement. The transaction is expected to strengthen Africa's digital infrastructure ecosystem and enhance MTN's ability to support network expansion, connectivity, and digital services across its core markets. Now to sports news. CAF has outlined the procedures for the 2025-26 Total Energies CAF Champions League and Confederation Cup quarter-final and semi-final draws ahead of Tuesday's ceremonies. For the Champions League, CAF will use a multi-pot system. Pot 1 contains the 4 group stage runner-up RS, Berkane and AS FAR Morocco, Sundown South Africa and Esperance Sportive de Tunis Tunisia. The 4 group winners are placed in separate pots by Group Pyramids FC Group A Egypt, AI Ahli Group B Egypt, Al Hilal SC Group C Sudan and State Milan Group D Mali. The draw starts by selecting one team from pot 1. CAF then draws one ball from each of the other 3 group winner pots, excluding the pot corresponding to the runners-up's own group. These 3 potential opponents are placed into a new pot, pot 6, mixed, and one team is drawn to confirm the quarter-final pairing. Runners-up host the first leg. This procedure repeats until all 4 quarter-finals are determined. Semi-final pairings will be drawn from a single pot containing QF1, QF2, QF3 and QF4. The first 2 boats drawn from semi-final 1 with the first drawn team hosting the first leg. The remaining 2 quarter-final winners form semi-final 2 following the same home leg rule. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast across Africa. That's all for the hour. Before I conclude, I'd like to invite you to watch our weekly program POA In Depth, which is coming up next. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to Pulse of Africa. We're coming to you from Addis Ababa, the heart of African diplomacy and the permanent home of the African Union headquarters, where the 2026 AU Summit has just concluded. This year's summit addressed a wide range of topics, but at the very top of the agenda was peace and security, followed by climate action, youth empowerment, regional infrastructure, health and technology. While many issues were discussed, for our POA In Depth coverage this week, we focus on the most concrete message and impactful statement delivered by leaders. The first voice to leave a mark on the summit was Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, calling for African self-reliance and innovation. He reminded leaders that Africa's future flows with its rivers, saying, "Water is more than a resource. It is a foundation of development, innovation, and stability." Using the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam as an example, Abiy highlighted how Africa can turn natural resources into energy, industry, and job anchored in sustainable management and continental cooperation.
As we build on the African Water Vision 2025, we reflect on a simple truth. Water is more than a resource. It is a foundation of development, innovation, and stability. It shapes our cities, our farms, our health, and our peace. Here in Ethiopia, we have learned that responsible water management is central to guiding development wisely. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam now powers homes and industry, exports electricity to neighboring countries, and shows how African ingenuity can drive shared prosperity. Across Africa, rivers can become engines of stability when governed for shared benefit. On our land, targeted policy and innovation have enabled with self-sufficiency, and large-scale industrial investments are moving us from dependency to production.
EU Commissioner Mohamed Ali Yusuf brought the summit back to the foundation issues of peace and security. He reminded delegates, without peace, there cannot be development. He reaffirmed the EU's zero-tolerance approach to unconstitutional change of government and stressed that silencing the guns is a prerequisite for growth and integration. He linked peace directly to trade, education, infrastructure, and governance, and called for measurable accountability under Agenda 2063.
The conference actually pinpointed the fact that the heads of state will have zero tolerance for unconstitutional or unconstitutional change of governments on our continent. The conference also underscored its determination to silence the guns. This is also a very important program if we contemplate to develop this continent and create the integration conditions for our countries. We need to silence the guns. We need peace on this continent. We need stability on this continent, and we have a program for that. The conference really underscored the necessity and its determination to pursue the goal of silencing the guns. And finally, the conference also committed to support the reforms, because without reforming the way we are handling our security issue, peace issue, the way we are handling our economic challenges and trade-related affairs, I think it will be very difficult to reach the deliverables that we need to reach. And we all know that the Agenda 2063 is built on 5 pillars, which are the 10-year plan, and then divided in 5-year plans, and we launched the 2024-2028 5-year plan, and we would like to see better performance in terms of deliverables in the time frame of this 10-year plan. So it's not easy, it won't be easy, but we are very optimistic and hopeful.
During the sessions, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres addressed Africa's place in a global governance. He stated, "The absence of permanent Africa representation in the UN Security Council is indefensible. This is 2026, not 1946.
The absence of permanent African seats in the Security Council is indefensible. This is 2026, not 1946. Whatever decisions about Africa and the world are on the table, Africa must be at the table. Excellencies, these priorities inform the Pact for the Future, shaped by African leadership and the UN80 initiative to strengthen UN support to Africa and beyond.
On international partnerships, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni emphasized that support must empower, not dictate. She said Italy's Mattei plan for Africa is not an Italian plan for Africa, but Italy's contribution to Africa's own agenda.
We discussed what we can do to further strengthen and consolidate one of the most concrete outcomes of this idea of cooperation, which is the Mattei plan for Africa. The investment plan that Italy has implemented in various nations of the continent in areas ranging from infrastructure to agriculture, from health to training. This is a strategy that we have built together because we do not conceive of the Mattei plan as an Italian plan for Africa, but as Italy's contribution to your agenda, with a particular focus on this year on water-related projects. It is an open platform for putting our know-how, our technologies, our investments at the service of the objectives that the African Union has set out in Agenda 2063, starting with the creation of a continental free trade area that is integrated and prosperous. This is an ambitious goal which we will support and which will require efficient, secure, and fast economic interconnections in order to be achieved. We want to help strengthen the valuable work carried out daily by the African Union, ensuring greater consistency to the mediation activities carried out by the UN and the European Union and key international partners. We will continue to do our part because we are aware that the future of Italy and Europe also depends on a secure, prosperous, and peaceful Africa.
Finally, the new AU chairperson, President Evariste Ndayishimiye of Burundi, outlined his vision for the Union's next chapter. He pledged to accelerate the African Continental Free Trade Area, expand investment and digital innovation, and support Africa's creative and cultural industries. He emphasized that Africa's success depends on unity and collective action, declaring Africa's time is not tomorrow, it is now.
I fully measure the honor and the responsibility placed on me in being elected chairperson of the African Union for 2026. I thank my peers for the trust reposed in me and pay a vibrant tribute to my predecessor, the President of Angola, for his leadership and for his commitment at the service of our continent. Agenda 2063 is our strategic blueprint for inclusive and sustainable growth on the continent. Therefore, we encourage the expediting of the implementation of ASCFTA, the transformation of our agriculture sector, as well as investment in infrastructure, innovation, youth, and women's empowerment. And these are the tools that are necessary for the structural transformation of Africa. We also stressed the importance of coordinated African action within the G20 in order to better defend our common priorities.
From peace and security to climate action, youth empowerment, infrastructure, health, and technology, the 2026 AU Summit highlighted a continental and decisive turning point. Africa's leaders have made it clear this is not just a moment for discussion, but a moment of action, commitment, and determination, charting a path toward peace, integration, and global influence.